obviously. Congressman Cicilline, you're always welcome. Well, it's been more than a week since Jeffrey Epstein died, but the mystery around his demise continues to grow. New York City authorities ruled the death a suicide last week, even though several aspects of his autopsy clash with that interpretation. Dr. Mark Siegel is a Fox medical contributor, frequent guest on the show. We're happy to have him tonight. Doctor, what do you make of this ruling by New York medical authorities?
Well, Tucker, good evening. I don't have any reason to directly contest the ruling from the medical examiner's office, but I will say this. There are several irregularities attached to this. To start with, the pathologist who did the autopsy did not rule it a suicide a week before. She hadn't decided yet. She was waiting for more information to come in. Her boss ruled it a suicide a week later, despite the fact that there were three fractures in the neck. My inside sources have told me there was hemorrhaging in the neck. I've also heard that there were some bruising. So I'm wondering at the speed with which this was changed. A week is not that long a time to suddenly go from undecided to suicide. So what information did they have? I have to tell you, I'm waiting for the autopsy report to be released, which the public should know we still don't have. I want to be able to look at it myself. I want Joe Public out there to be able to look at it and make their own decisions. Just the cause of death alone is not enough. I want to know what the contributory evidence is. I want to understand how come two guards supposedly fell asleep and then fabricated documents. This is a really strange case, and the Attorney General is right to say that there were irregularities here, not to mention the way the psychiatric part of this was handled, which is an utter disgrace.
So very quickly, Dr. Siegel, is there a good reason why we still don't have that information?
No, there isn't a good reason. We should have it now. I mean, the cause of death is a final stamp, but we need to have this now. It should be released. They were supposedly waiting on the toxicology report, but then, don't give a final cause of death. We need this information released now. It needs to be looked at by everybody so we can draw our own conclusions on this. Again, this type of situation, and I'm sure the judge is going to say more about this, is more consistent with a strangling. I'm willing to accept it as a hanging, but I want to know more of the evidence.
Yes, more consistent with a strangling.
Much more consistent.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely. Thank you, Chuck.
Much more consistent. Remarkable. Another revelation in the Epstein case earlier today, just 2 days before his death, whatever its cause, Epstein signed his name to a new will. Judge Janine Pirro hosts, of course, Justice with Judge Janine every Saturday night right here on Fox. She's the author of the brand new book, Radicals, Resistance, and Revenge, and we are proud to have her on our show tonight. Judge, thanks a lot for coming on.
Good to see you, Tucker.
You've been involved personally in cases where there's a dispute over whether it was a murder or suicide. Given your background, what do you make of this?
Well, first of all, I think what the medical examiner should have done was she should have listed the manner of death. Understand there are two differences. What actually caused the death, some kind of asphyxiation, but the manner of death can be a homicide, a suicide, or pending, undetermined. So there are 4 investigations going on right now. Her rush to judgment as to decide that this was a suicide makes no sense. We don't know why the cameras weren't working, why everybody was asleep, why they lied. The FBI, the DOJ, the Inspector General, Bureau of Prisons, everybody's doing an investigation. And where it's capable of being one of 2 ways, you've got to give me the additional dots that cause me to believe it's one way versus another. And by the way, Tucker, I have tried cases that were listed as suicides, and I've gotten a homicide conviction. So they weren't suicides, they were intentional murders. And secondly, the breaking of the hyoid bone. And I've tried strangulation cases. That's classic in a strangulation, not in a hanging. So there is a rush here. I don't know if it's to shut it down, but it makes no sense to me as a prosecutor.
Have you seen, finally, cases in your life where the medical examiner was influenced by political concerns or pressure?
Absolutely. Look, everybody's human. Everybody can be influenced, all right? There are very few people. Yeah. Look at Washington. Look at our government. We're finding out things we don't want to know, Tucker. So the same thing happens in the criminal justice system. But here's the saving grace. When we get all the facts, we can decide what happened. People say, oh, he tried to kill himself. He definitely committed suicide. That's not true, because he said that Nicholas Tartaglione, the The cop in the cell originally, when they say he tried to kill himself, beat the hell out of him. I know that probably is true because I knew Nicholas Tartaglione. He was a cop when I was a DA in Westchester. Would it be like him to slap this guy around? Without a doubt. That's number one. And number two, the fact that he was very upbeat with his attorneys, said, "I'll see you Sunday." All these facts need to be looked into to decide whether or not it is a homicide versus a suicide. And to just 1, 2, 3 before the toxicology is even back on the microscopic tissues makes no sense to me as a litigator who's tried homicide cases.
Very quickly, why are there so many people who are insistent that you be quiet and just accept the official version of things? Stop asking questions, stop being a conspiracy nut, and just believe. Why are people insisting on that?
Because they haven't done what I've done. If it's for me personally, I don't really care what people say. I did this for 30 years. I was a judge and I ran an office with 40,000 cases a year for 12 years. You figure it out. I went to every homicide. I oversaw every one of them. And I have seen medical examiners say it's a suicide. I look at the autopsy picture. The woman has tweezed her eyebrows. Her manicure is perfect. She's wrapping presents. It's not a suicide. She wasn't depressed. Her husband killed her, and I proved it.
The best. Judge Janine, great to see you.